Once again, we meet, is that a hand up question? Okay. Once again, we meet our favorite student, good old Anne. Number one, total distance, I'm pretty sure is going to be 29 kilometers, yes? Okay. Total displacement. Well, I'm going to draw compass rose. It's going to be 11 north. 11, Mr. Dewick, not 18. Plus 18 east. That's the displacement. The magnitude of the displacement is going to be 18 squared plus 11 squared square root. If you didn't write that, I'm okay. I'm just showing that so that in our answer key when you're looking later, you know what the heck we did. So the displacement is going to be is it 21.1? At color, opposite, adjacent. I guess I'm going to go tan theta equals 18 over 11. Oh, I got a typo here. Do you get 58.6 degrees? I would take 59 degrees if you went to 2 sig figs. I'll go 58.6 degrees. North of south, east of west, what of what? East of north? I would also take whatever 90 minus 58.6 degrees is north of east, and that would be if you drew the 18 first and then the 11. In terms of 2 marks, I would give you 1 mark for the magnitude, half mark for the theta, and a half mark for the what of what. So if you got any of those wrong, you can still get some marks. What is the resultant velocity? So this is a little bit different from the one that I gave you that we did. In the one that we did in our notes, I gave you the resultant and we found the components. Here, I think they've given me the components. I'm finding the resultant. This year, I'm going to tell you, as far as I'm concerned, Parker, if I show you how to do a question in one direction, it's completely fair game for me to reverse the question. Oh, Mr. Dewick gave me the mass and he had me find the acceleration. On the test, he gave me the acceleration and had me find the mass. I'm not going to cover every possible possibility. I'll show you how to do a question in one way and I'll assume, oh, I can give you the answer and you can work your way backwards to something from the question, okay? So here, the boat's heading east. River's flowing north. So the river is kind of like this, I guess. There's the resultant. It's going to be 16 squared plus 8 squared equals the square root of 320. 17.9, is that correct? It said velocity. A velocity has to have both a magnitude and a direction. Let's pause for a second. It did say velocity, so I'm going to assume it wants a direction. So it's going to be tan theta equals 8 over 16. 26.6 degrees, is that correct? North of south, east of west, what of what? North of east, or 73.4 degrees east of north, I think. Again, 1 mark for the magnitude, a half mark for the theta, and a half mark for the what of what. If the river is 155 meters wide, how long does it take the boat to reach the other side? So that 155, I think that's that distance, which I'm going to call a dx. They want me to find time. I have to use a vx, which in this case is the 16. And what did we say A was for both the river and the airplane in a crosswind? What's that mean? Yeah, 0. So I can use dx equals vxt. T is going to be dx divided by vx. It's going to be 155 divided by 16. I have no idea what the answer is. Just under 10, I think. 9 point something. 9.69 seconds. Here, 1 mark, because I didn't have 2 marks in brackets. So that's worth 1 mark. In terms of part marks, I would probably give you a half mark if I saw that, and then a half mark for the answer. But 1 mark for the answer. How far downstream? Now I think they're wanting me to find a dy, which means I'm going to use a vy, 8, and I'm going to use the time of 9.69. Actually, I'm going to use my answer button. So it's going to be dy equals vy times t. It's going to be 8 times 9.69. I'm going to use my answer button. 8 times answer button. And I get 77.5 even. If you didn't use your answer button, you'll be close. Mark. Find the horizontal and vertical components of this vector. I better draw compass rose. 67 degrees west of north. West of what? North. West of what? North. West of what? North. I'm going to start out going north first. What of north? West of north. How many degrees? 67 degrees. So it's something like that, where this angle is 67 degrees, and this is 140 newtons. I guess I'm going to go d. That's going to be Fy. That's going to be Fx. Color, color, color. Opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. I guess to find Fx, it's going to be sine of 140 equals Fx. No, sine of 67, Mr. Dewick. Sheesh. Equals Fx over 140. Fx ends up being, typo, Mr. Dewick, 140 sine 67. Y'all get 128.8. I'm going to call it 129. And cos of 67 is going to be Fy over 140. Fy ends up being 54.7. How many marks is this worth? I think 1 mark for each of them. 1 mark for that. 1 mark for that. Sled is being pulled along the ground with a rope. I decided to assume the sled was getting pulled to the right. If you drew it to the left, that's fine. But I said, I'm pretty sure that's what they're talking about, where this angle here is 72 degrees, and this is 117. Did I say angle? Components. So this is going to be Fx. This is going to be Fy, color, color, color. Opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. I think cosine of 72 is going to be Fx over 117. It's going to be 117 times the cos of 72. Did y'all get 36.2 if I round off properly? And then I'm pretty sure sine of 72 is going to be Fy over 117. I think I can just backspace and edit. 111. 1 mark for each of those. A hiker walks 25.6 kilometers at an angle, did I say angle? Components of 65 degrees south of east. Okay, I better draw a compass rose. That's a terrible compass rose. South of what? East. South of what? East. I guess I'm going to go east first. I'm going to go south of east, where that's 25.6, and this is 65 degrees. I guess I'm going to call this dx, and I'll call this dy. Opposite, color, 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 hypotenuse, adjacent. I think cosine of 65 is dx over 25.6. So dx ends up being, y'all get 10.8? Sine 65 ends up being dy times 25.6. Pause for a second.
For any grade 11 or 12 students.
dy is going to be 25.6 times the sine of 65. So I'll get 23.2 kilometers. 1 mark for each of those. I had a couple of students come and say, hey, Mr. Dewick, did I do this question right? This to me is a, I don't know, this is maybe a 7-mark question. Well, let's see. First of all, I would probably give you a mark if you wrote this down, because it would tell me that you had figured out how we were going to analyze this. And to me, that's worth something. Especially by the end of the year, once we've learned a whole bunch of physics, it would say to me, oh yeah, you knew this was kinematics and not magnetism, or something silly like that. I want to find the ground velocity. No, hang on, Mr. Dewick. I wrote this totally wrong from memory. That's what happens when I'm doing 2 steps in my head. I want to find the engine velocity. So the engine velocity is ground minus v wind. Boy, did I botch that first one. Okay. I'm going to subtract vectors. How do I subtract vectors? I don't. I add the opposite. So v ground apparently is due west. And that's got a magnitude of 250. And I'm going to add to it the opposite of the wind. The wind originally is north at 45, so I'm going to add to it south at 45. When I do that, I'm going to get I'm pretty sure that is V engine, color, 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 theta. To find the magnitude of the engine velocity, it's going to be the square root of 250 squared plus 45 squared. $254? Is that right? Meters per second at opposite adjacent shift tan of 45 over 250. Do you get a theta of 10.2 degrees? North of south, east of west, what of what? This is south of west. Now, if you got that, you would get 7 out of 7. Otherwise, here's how I would give out the part marks. I would give 1 mark if I saw the 254. I would give 1 mark if I saw the 10.2. I would give 1 mark for the south of west. I would give 1 mark if I saw that equation. I would give 1 mark if I saw that you had realized that it was plus negative. Now we're up to 5 marks. I would give you 1 mark if I saw that picture, and I would give you 1 mark for the vector triangle. That's how I would give out the part marks for 7 marks. But if you got the right answer, 7 out of 7. I also probably, compared to a lot of teachers in the province, I have you doing a lot more in your head or on your calculator without writing stuff down. So if this was a provincial exam question, most kids would have a lot more writing, and they would be like, oh yeah, this has got to be 7 marks. I'm writing a lot, but I'm getting you to become experts, I hope.
I did the opposite. So that's like,
You did the opposite. I don't know what that means. Sorry? You rounded up to 80.
yeah, I did.
So you have 80 degrees west of south?
Yeah.
That's the same answer. But if you have 80 degrees south of west or north of something, no. Yes?
What's the answer for 2C?
Where, first of all, so give yourself, please, a score out of 20. Let me
Grade
pause for a second.
10
Hang on.
Students.
Score out of 20. If you need to lawyer with me or if you have any questions, now is the chance. Which one?
2C?
Or not 2C?
Yeah.
I got 77.5 even using my answer button. If you didn't use your answer button, you're probably going to be like 77.4 or 77.6 or something like that. Anybody else? Yeah. Sorry? 1. So it should be, unless it says 2 marks, assume 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, plus 7, 20. Yep. Yes?
Sorry, in the last one, I didn't like I just did the triangle directly with the opposite of the other.
Let me come look at yours. I'll pause the video for a second.